You can play Goose Game in League of Legends, though. All you have to do is pick Singed Proxy. That's Goose Game. Alright. Patch 919 notes. Good grief, we're finally here. It's the world's patch, double exclamation mark. Similar to our philosophy for last year's world's patch, we've been making steady changes throughout the last few patches as to not completely throw everything in flux and have the pros invalidate whatever playbooks they've been developing. For the most exciting event of the year, more than completely neutralizing top priority picks, we've been working on elevating more champions to competitive viability and are continuing that work in 919. The change process has resulted in smaller buffs for a couple of impactful nerfs across a slew of champions and more pro-focused changes that should even out the scales and create fun, diverse, and impactful picks for the next few weeks of Worlds Games. On to the changes. Hana Shoi Shouju Wu was the only one here? This is just Shoi Shouju. Most of the time, it's her and somebody else. Hana is the only one that matters. How long until they put me in the patch highlights? How long until that's me sitting there? Oh, by the way, this new Riven skin? Oh my god, she looks so good. She's looking very good. Championship Rise seems cool too. Splendid Staff Nami? She's so cute! Okay. Those are good skins. Hextech Amumu I'm not sure about, because he already has kind of an electronic one. He already looks like a robot in one of them. These are all okay though. I think that's a really good splash art. But here's another thing. I complain about this all the time, but there are a lot of characters in League of Legends that don't have like a unique thing. Nami doesn't have this thing on her forehead normally. She has like a tiara. Having this mark here is Nico's thing. So this looks like Nico now, even though it's like not a human lizard thing. Like that's Nico-ish, because Nico has a mark on her forehead. That's her thing. So if you want to give characters a mark on their forehead, then at least make the character have a mark on their forehead, and then don't give other characters a mark on their forehead. Aatrox. Minion damage reduction to 45%. We over-nerfed Aatrox in 918 and we're giving back some wave clear he lost. Okay, that's fine. Akali. They bring up damage on the second cast of R. That's fine. Not a big deal. The Akali removal of the stun, yeah, I think it's a stun. The stun that she used to have on R1, I think has made her much more fun to play against, so that was a very positive change. I tried Annie with this Molten Shield thing. It really didn't seem super good. Did that move her at all? I didn't play a lot of League of Legends because, hey, I was kind of figuring things out with my accounts and things, so. I don't think that people were playing her, though. Because I tried it and it really did not seem to do anything. Moved her pick rate up by a tiny bit, but she actually lost win rate, not like any amount that it would actually matter. Or no, did she? Yeah, she went from 51 with the old Annie to 49.24 with the new Annie, and now they're moving her back up. Yeah, it didn't feel different, it just seemed strange. I thought that it was going to be really cool, but It wasn't as big of a move speed buff as I thought it would be. We ended up going with a more conservative approach than necessary. Molten Shield has moved up in movement speed from 25 to 50 to 30 to 60. Okay, that's fine. And the cooldown now scales with level. That's probably the bigger change there. That's fine. Ash, passive slow increased. Ooh. Q now an auto attack reset. Ooh, I don't mind that. Increasing Ash's utility so she can be considered a good pick when a player wants to run down opponents in the early game. In addition, we're returning the full auto attack range reset to her Q. Full auto attack range. Why am I saying that? Full auto attack reset to her Q. We've decided that the minimal gameplay gains weren't worth the adverse effect on the satisfaction of playing Ash. Yeah, I agree. Like, there are some stuff like that where when you're playing, you just want it to work like that. I'm fine with that. It's good. This was the change that I was talking about before, though. Here we go. The Blitzcrank is the hook and should always be, even as we release other champions who happen to have hooks in their abilities alongside other things. I talked about this, since this is going to be a YouTube video, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but Blitzcrank definitely had his position in the game trampled on by Pyke, mostly. Like, Thresh, yeah, he stepped on Blitzcrank's toes quite a bit, but still, like, if you wanted to just murder people on your own, you still pick Blitz. But after Pyke came out, Pyke definitely became the new Blitzcrank. Like, oh, I want to solo cube stomp with my friends, I'm gonna pick Pyke. So Blitzcrank kind of lost his identity in the game a little bit. So adding this extra 100 range to the hook, there's this video here on Twitter that shows new angles that you can do, which I am totally down with. Like, this is how he should be. Like, he should have a big grab, at least in a way that makes him different than the other people with hooks, because they're all basically the same range. Like, Thresh hook is the same range as Blitz hook and Pyke hook. If they're not the exact same range, it's close enough to where you space the exact same against them, so it doesn't really matter. I like this, he said before he got hooked and murdered. I think that this is good to give him an identity. And he, like, even though he was always still pretty good, like, I think that Blitzcrank's win rate was still quite consistently very good. Ooh, he's a little overtuned right now, huh, guys? But I think he was still like 51 or something. Yeah, close to it. 50, 51-ish. He's moved up to the #1 pick rate on support. If we could get like a bigger thing here before Pyke was released, I think that people played Blitz way more. Yeah, they might have overtuned him a little bit. I'm thinking that 54% win rate is a little bit much. Damn, with the right runes, it's actually 54. Yeah, you might need to hotfix that. I would probably hotfix that. That's cool, though. Like, I like the direction of this, but 54% is too high. So let's look at Fiora now. Fiora is in an acceptable place when it comes to matchups in lane, but can struggle to convert her lane victories into game victories. Dude, sometimes you play against Fioras and you're like, oh my god, what can I even do? This character's insane. Can now hit turrets and wards. Will prioritize champion vitals, ultimate targets, champs, dying minions, turrets and wards respectively. Okay. And E, the second basic attack, can now deal bonus damage to turrets. Cool. So she's got slightly higher pushing power and slightly higher ward clear. I'm fine with that. I think if you're really good at Fiora, you're fucking nutso at League of Legends right now. Like, a lot of Riven players switched to playing Fiora because Riven stopped being able to 1v1 people as easily as before. Like, I'm not going to say that Riven is bad, because she's definitely not. I guess they tweaked her. But playing against some Fioras, it's like, holy shit, this character's insane. So that's good. Good for them. Gragas, Drunken Rage. No more KR Graguses. Feels bad. We'll see how the JP Graguses are. Drunken Rage cooldown from 5 to 6. The damage ratio is down by 1%, so making him a little bit less damage. Both are basically the same impactfulness. Not gonna say like they should have just decided on one, but I think maybe you could have just tried making the cooldown higher and not touch the damage ratio. Gragas, to me, in solo queue, like, you don't need to rip an extra 1% off of him. He's like a good character, but yeah, I think you'd probably hit him a little bit hard. He's down by 2% win rate, but I think they could have just done the cooldown. Graves got his numbers smoothed out. They should just do a full sweep of smoothing everybody's numbers. I don't know why they do this so stupid. Like, every time that they want to buff somebody, they're like, oh my god, his health was 551.1. Like, yeah, we were thinking about giving him 551 health, but then we decided 551.1 was probably more balanced. Like, I don't know who... This was a different era of League of Legends, I guess, but still, like, when they reworked the champion, they were giving people, like, 0.1 bonus health? I don't know why you do that. This 2 AD is actually more impactful than you might think, because... Like, not that you're going to be really noticing it, but it's going to make his clear a tiny bit faster. It's going to mean that when he goes and ganks your lane and attacks you 4 times, which I think is pretty normal, like if he's going to hit you with 4 things, like he's going to auto you, E, auto you, maybe hit you with a Q and a W, which both have 80 scaling. So I'm like, most fights he's probably going to do close to like 10 or 15 more damage, which I don't know if that like moves him up a lot, but I'm in the wrong tab. But that tweaked him up 0.5%, which I'm fine with. And the pick rate went up by quite a bit. What's this weird drop-off here? That's strange to me. Like, I think that Graves is pretty strong, like, close to... He's definitely a mid-game super powerhouse. But at the 35 to 40 minute mark, I don't know why he drops so drastically and then pops back up. You don't expect the graph to look like this. You expect him to, like, okay, well, sure, after like 30 minutes he drops off, but I guess once you're full build, he becomes a beast again. They could shift a little bit more early power to him too, I think. Like, Graves is pretty good at counter jungling, but they could increase that a tiny bit as well, in my opinion. When I played him, like, I played quite a few games on Graves. I think that having sudden impact makes him quite good, but both of these are good. You definitely want to have sudden impact, though. I played mostly with Fleet Footwork, but I think that these are both very viable. Anyway, cool change. I'm fine with this. My boy Heim, 5% bonus ability power on the Q turrets. That's fine. The stun is up. I think that they could even move this up a tiny bit more too. Like they could have dodged this and given him a 2-second stun on that E. That would have been crazy. Because I think that his stun is actually quite difficult to land. Like it would be cool to make it more rewarding. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's an ability that most of the time you throw out and you get the slow instead of the stun. So if you did land the stun, like having it on a 2-second stun, I think would be cool. Instead of like moving all of his damage up. But this works too. They want him to have more power throughout the game, which is fine. Karma, they are reducing the Q damage by 20%. Damn. Nerfing Karma's non-support damage so she isn't so strong as a blind pick generalist. Teams will now have to consider losing a considerable amount of damage if they want to pick her. I'm fine with that. Her wave clear is really nutty too. And this will make that more in line. So they did buff Mort. I didn't read any of this on Twitter, so this is all new to me. Bonus 5% on the heal. And spectators now see the combatants in the spooky realm as appropriately spooky. Okay, so this is just a visual thing, which is cool. So I guess too, like if you're watching a game, they used to just turn into shadows. Like if you were allied, I guess you couldn't watch the fight, or maybe they both show up normally and you can't even tell what's really going on. But now I guess it'll look more like Camille Alt. Ori is feeling generally weak right now, so we're powering up her ultimate for the sweet wombo combos. Up by 50 flat at level 1, which is a lot, actually. And then... okay, up by 50 flat all the way, and then 0.1 ability power scaling. That bonus 50 is gonna make, like, level 6 all-ins a lot more powerful. That's cool. Ornn. Making Ornn's unique attributes happen earlier in the game. Masterwork upgrades for free when Ornn reaches level 13 to 12. Okay, a little bit earlier. It's like a probably 2-minute power up. So good for him. This is a big thing too. I bitched about magic resist actually in specifically. I was like, why does this guy have so much magic resist? I played against Pantheon as Jax, and I was like, this guy's a fucking anti-mage. Jax's base magic resist, mana magic resist, 32. So he used to have the same stats as Jax, which to me personally, I don't think Pantheon should have that. I think that Jax in general is like a more tanky top laner, and then Pantheon should be glass cannon-y, except for his shield damage thing. So this is a good change. I think they could have even nerfed it even further than that. But they did hit him a couple times. I think that Panth got smacked. If I remember, he got smacked pretty hard in some other... okay, he could use a little bit more smacking, to be honest. Yeah. He's got a lot going on though. Like he is very similar to old Camille in the fact that there's so much shit going on with his kit. Camille's stats. There's a funny I'm a cutie pie video. Maybe I can find this. I'm a cutie pie Camille. How do I spell Camille? I-L-L-E. This might be it. Let's see.
On this account, call it. Get the gratification at shit. Yeah, this lane could be rough early game just because the Draven does.
I remember that username, Feedlord. That's a fucking good name.
Their backline.
Why? This is not what I was looking at.
Made my dude look at her
Again with some of the coolest. Alice. Like it, I guess her ability.
This right here.
Number 1 at Camille. So her abilities don't look like they cost that much mana, and their cooldowns are pretty long. So I guess this is fine. Jesus, she got the booty, dude. Look at those childbearing hips. Wow. Grants 40% attack speed for 5 seconds. Holy fuck, that's a lot. There's a 20-second cooldown. I think once I'm level 2, I can kill this guy. Maybe. I guess we'll see. Oh shit, whoops. Holy fuck, I did not understand how that worked. Okay. Yeah, I fucking right-clicked after I
Is that Jungle Callista in his game?
got onto the wall and it just went off. I didn't realize that that's how it.
Anyway, that's not the video I was thinking of, but Cutie had something where he said, like, that's how you know that a character is good in League of Legends, if their fucking abilities have 10 million lines of text. Like, okay, if you do this, 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 and this, then it'll do this, and this, and this. Like, depending on how incredibly overcomplicated a character is, most of the time they're pretty crazy. I think that Panth has some of that going on. Anyway. Rek'Sai. Armor up. Rek'Sai's Unburrow Q now works on turrets. Cool. Cooldown increased again, and the damage, and the cooldown on E is brought down. Okay. Our last few Riven changes didn't hit the results we were looking for, so disappointingly, disproportionately weakening the players who are newer to her and don't have the same level of familiarity. We're trying again by reverting back to her pre-910 state and adding a simpler nerf to her E instead. That's a good nerfing strategy. I agree with that. They should do this more often. Not do that. Oops. Sejuani. Sejuani's damage is very high when considering all of the utility she has, especially in pro play, where nerfing her dueling power and mid-game damage from scaling 10, 15, 20% max health to 10% max health at all levels. Okay, so it no longer scales. It's just 10% always. That's good. This actually did fuck people up. Like, this was a big thing. Once she got... this is like the 3-hit passive, right? Or is it 4-hit passive? Frost armor. Enemies stunned by Sejuani are frozen. Sejuani's basic attacks and abilities against frozen enemies consume the effect and deal 10% of their maximum health. Okay, maybe it was just that it froze them, and then it would proc this. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Sejuani was pretty good at smacking people. Soul Furnace, base shield increased. This is all fine. I think Scion lost a bit of power when all the on-hit 80 carries started popping out again. Scion's good against people who are, like Scion does well against Caitlyn and Draven and all those people who don't do on-hit. And on-hit is flavor of the month. Everybody plays on-hit Kai'Sa. And Varus. And not totally on-hit, but half on-hit Misfortune. Silas. One of Silas's main strengths lies in his generalist kit and high AoE power from his very reliable passive. This combination created no-fail situations which led to Silas's 3-role omnipresent pro-flex status. True. By that they mean he can play top, he can play mid, and he can play jungle. And he's incredible in all three. Probably strongest as a jungler, but he is also good at the other two. So they're cutting his base armor by 4, not really huge, and his armor growth by 0.5. I would probably screw with his magic resistance too. That's what, like, he gets a shield and he has a heal. Well, not like a true heal, but you know, he gets health back. I think that you probably could have cut down his magic resist so that more people could play against him mid, but whatever. We got the Petricite? Is that it? Petricite? Burst. Damage 9 to 60. And a bunch of different numbers. They are tweaking them by... What does this even mean? To everyone else? Reduced by 50% for minions that aren't the primary target. What does everyone else mean? Does this mean minions? Does this mean all enemy units? Does this mean everything? I don't know what they mean by this. Whatever. It's a Silas nerf. I ban Silas all the time, so I'll probably still continue to ban him. Tom, 75% of gray health at all ranks to 30 to 100% of gray health. Okay. That's cool. I'm fine with that. Twisted Fate. I read this change on Twitter too, and I had the gears spinning in my brain. Dude, on hit ADTF. He gets 10% free bonus attack speed compared to where he was before, and his damage is up. Think about it. That's a big stat increase. 40% on stack deck, and this is a passive. So you get 40% passive attack speed, and then every, I think it's 4 attacks on TF, you get stack deck, and then it's going to do 165 damage. I would not be surprised if we saw on-hit Twisted Fate bottom at Worlds, because this is a big increase to damage. So, we got Vayne. Vayne gets 5 bonus AD at first rank, then 10, and then 15. Sure. I think that Vayne's pretty strong. Probably doesn't need this, in my opinion. But, it's fine. I read these changes too. As the Veigar master of Predator Veigar, I think that you'll probably see some Veigar at Worlds. He's a pretty strong character. And that changes it by quite a bit, because you get 40% CDR on him, like you do with every mage in the game now, because every fucking item gives you CDR. So 40% reduction on this. He's going to have a lot of ease. Xin Zhao. Base heal from 8 to... These are weird numbers. 78. Sure, whatever. 3 Talon Strike, damage up by not a lot. Okay, whatever. That's fine. I read these changes too. I actually think that I forget what my exact suggestion was. I replied to some guy. So what I said here was, because he said, update on Yumi work, have a good direction, but I think we're going to wait until 9.21 to ship it, so we get a little more data from the worlds, on the effect of the 919 nerfs. Current direction includes removing Q slow to passive, or moving Q slow to passive attack, and removing the free point in W. So this means that at level 1, because when you pick Yumi, she gets a free point in W, obviously. You can bind with somebody and get Q, so you, at level 1, you are basically already at, like, your full Yumi strength. I don't think that that's her strongest point, and removing the free point in W makes her feel so much worse as a character in the game, right? Like, if the whole point of Yumi is that you bind with people, she should probably be able to do it from level 1. And what I'm talking about here is capping the slow at 20% flat, because it's scaled up to 80% slow at max rank, which is really crazy. And the slow duration is now 1 second. So not only did they remove 60% of the slow at max rank, and a whole bunch more throughout this. So getting away from a gank, if you're hit with Prowling Projectile, is going to be 60% easier, and the slow doesn't even last as long. So that's a pretty massive nerf. What I said here was capping the slow at 20% flat, and the faster decay makes the annoyance factor a lot lower, but she's still fairly anti-fun from a lane opponent perspective. I'd blunt the heal stack and add a retether delay on CC before removing the free point in W. By this I mean, if you stun the target that she was attached to, she should have to wait like 1.5 seconds before she can rebind with them. That makes sense? Because if you get kicked out of your friend if they get CC'd, but then you just retether again immediately. So I would add a little stun on there. Somebody replied to me and said, "Oh, it's so fucking fun playing against kill lanes like Veigar and Poppy. Wow. They should get nerfed into the fucking ground, hey? Your opinion doesn't equal the reality of what Yumi actually needs." Thank you for your contribution to the discussion. Very good. Who does he use as an example? Veigar and Poppy. Yeah, there's a lot of people playing Veigar Poppy bottom, because it's so good. Zach, Bloblets restore more health. This now Bloblets restore an additional 1 to 3% max health. Sure, whatever. Considering how much heal there is in the game already, now that they buffed Dr. Mundo, which they should have nerfed him. I guess they don't care. They should have nerfed Mundo. They're adding more heal to junglers, whatever. We've removed the from some of the item descriptions. Black Cleaver is now not the Black Cleaver, it's just called Black Cleaver. Sure, whatever. Fixed a bug where Ultimate Hunter would not reduce Kale's W Divine Judgment cooldown, sure. Just some bug stuff. No longer able to cast R Last Breath onto a non-knocked up target who's just been hit with Oriana's R. Or from Ornn's Call of the Forge God. That's pretty funny. You could ult people who weren't knocked up. How is that possible? Whatever. Look at this Riven. She's so cute. She's got forehead shit too. But at least you know it's Riven, because she's got her sword. Nice web design though, guys. How do I close this out? Oh, it's too big. I have to zoom out of the web page. Let's reset that. Let's click on this. Oh, the close button is off the screen. Ah, nice work, guys. Alright, so that's the patch notes. Very cool.